Thursday I have my presentation as well, but it will be about vaccinology and its psychological aspects. And I'm working actually on this project since 3 years, and this is a national project, and I will present a little bit of data we have got from our work and from conferences I took part in about the psychological aspects of vaccination. But today I will talk a little bit broader. I will talk about psychological aspects of healthcare. And we should start, first of all, from the very simple statement that we imagine that our work is as patient and doctor meets. And we meet each other and we start to work. And it seems absolutely simply normal. But the problem is that this is not John meets Peter. Because John can meet Peter anywhere. But when we are talking about medical milieu, we are speaking first of all about different statuses and roles of those two persons. Because patient is one who is in need, and the doctor is one who is in the role to help. This is not so simple. Even from the last presentation, it was clear that there are some resistant cases and you can do nothing. And when people are above 80, they will die. I was happy you told not of MRSA, but with. So that's fine. I agree. But if we will continue about this contact, first of all, we should understand that patient is not the same person when he was healthy. He is covered in all his relationships by the disease, by his perception that he can't help himself. And I'm telling very often to many audiences that in the essence, patient and sick person are two different persons. Because there are many sick people walking around in the streets and even sitting here, and they don't consider themselves patients. You are pretending you are almost healthy. You have a little bit of the problems, but you will manage. And this is a most terrible thing with medical personnel, because they are not healthy. They are pretending they are healthy. And this means that indeed to have a doctor-patient is a most terrible case, because usually he has been treating himself or herself for years and asked for help only in situations when he can't no longer manage with his problems. And then it's very often very late. But we are talking about normal patient. And the normal patient comes to us when he decides that he can't help himself. It's over. He tried, and he tried many different methods, and I have read a book of Professor Hellman from King's College London, who calculated how many persons we meet before we meet a doctor. And I wonder if you can guess how many persons one meets before the doctor for help for his problems with health. 7. 8. In some cultures, 9. Because in some cultures, healer is not very often existing person, but in some cultures, he or she does. So then healer adds one extra person. So we are 8th, 9th person in a row. It means that the disease went on and on. Because if it would be healed, patient didn't come to us. If he came, it means he got no effective help. So then, we have a patient who was already treated and disappointed by many other persons, starting with his mom, going through a kiosk shopper or policeman, and finally ending with colleague patients in a corridor in the outpatient department. So everybody treated everybody, but still the result is he is in my room. And if we are talking about this disease which is around, it means that it changes his or her behavior. It changes expectations, what he or she wants from us. And of course, it changes some, I don't know how to find a nicer word, let's say pattern of obedience or disobedience. Because we doctors would like to treat our patients as kids. They are small children, they know nothing about medicine, we are here authority figures, so they should follow our recommendations and advices. But they are adult persons, they have their experience, and in our times, in these times now, it was not our times when we studied medicine, but in these times, almighty internet is helping them to find a lot of facts which maybe are even not very well known for you. So the problem is that he is not so small child to be guided unequivocally. So let's continue. What is with the doctor in this context? First of all, we are equipped with our knowledge, with our experience, with our skills. And that's the only reason why we gather, right? We call ourselves doctors. But on the other hand, we are trained in the system which is with some essential flaws in itself since many centuries. First of all doctors have to have knowledge and skills. And knowledge can be read, can be listened in lectures, that's simple. Skills can be only trained. And training happens in the so-called guilds teaching manner. What does it mean? The teacher tells to his pupil, come with me, look how I'm doing, try to do yourself. If can, do yourself. If can, do better than me. But what does it mean? From one hand, we acquire a lot of practical skills which help us to live and survive in our profession. From the other hand, we are learning not only positive skills of our teachers, but negative skills as well. And here I am very grateful for our Dutch Family Doctors Association, which calculated what are biggest holes in our skills which are needed by the practical reasons, and they are not trained in our education. And number one was communication skills. We are not trained specifically in communication skills in majority of the universities and faculties of medicine, schools of medicine in the world. I know this. I know this because there are attempts to change that. I was taking part in these meetings on international level, how to change that, how to make communication skills training an obligatory part of the medical education. Unfortunately, no more than 3-4% of all courses in medical schools have this obligatory part in communication skills. So what does it mean that we are doctors with a lack of the essential skill in our practice. Because all information we can collect about the patient can be only through communication with the patient. We have a lot of dreams that laboratory tests will take us to the truth, will give us a clear picture. And that's not the truth. And you know better than me. Laboratory tests can show you one or other direction when you are on the crossroads. It will never give a final answer. What to do with this particular patient. Not with bacteriums or antibiotics, but this particular patient. So, now we see that this contact is not so simple. It's very specific. But what are additional influences on that contact? First of all, every patient has his or her personality. And this personality is a result of the development of the person. And we know now very well that the personality develops mainly to the form it is able to function in first 4 years of his or her life. And at the same time, we know very well that these memories from first 4 years are completely unconscious. You cannot retrieve anything from these first 4 life years of yours. Unless some great picture, sounds, smells, maybe tastes, but nothing cause-consequence type of events. So when we are talking about personality, it is an entire structure which reacts to the world, adapts to the world, and modifies the world to make it, now it's a question after Brexit, better or worse. But still, we are trying. If to continue, next thing which we all have is a value system. During our education, our development, our social development, we are all collecting some values which we feel and think are good for adaptation, are good for contact with somebody. And that means that doctor-patient communication is in a way embedded in this value system. Patient has in his own value system the unconscious mainly recognition who is who in this very contact of two persons. But this value system is not explicitly expressed unless we have third thing, a stereotypal behavior. What is considered normal? We very often call it a normal behavior. So it's very tricky word. I don't know what does it mean normal. Indeed, through all my life, I never considered somebody has a good description what is normal. So I don't know. So I would rather use the word stereotypal. And what it is stereotypal? The person behaves automatically. He doesn't think how to behave in this particular situation. He knows. He or she knows how to behave in that situation. That's all. And this automatic behavior can be very different from different patients who come to us. And we don't understand why. Very simple answer. Because they have different personalities with different stories and different value systems. Every patient is different. But what is even more complicated, that every doctor is also different. That we also have our personalities. And we have our path of development. with all problems in that. We have our value system. One of these values, why we went for medical studies, was very nicely described by the president of American Psychotherapeutic Society, Dr. Michael Glynn. It's complicated to tell the whole story, but the simple explanation is that we had an unconscious dream that if we will be treating diseases, we will become masters of diseases. And if we become masters of diseases, it means that we will be masters of our own diseases as well. And if we will be masters of our own diseases, it means that we will stay healthy all our life. And finally, if we will stay healthy all our life, we will not die. Is it logical? Sounds like that. But it's not the whole story. If we are entering the profession with the hope never die, what is the motivation? It's a fear of death. And this is called in psychoanalytic terms hypercompensation. Nothing else, nothing more. So this is about our value system, my dear colleagues. And to continue, we have our stereotypal behavior. And especially in our office, in our ward, in our gown, we feel doctors. And when we feel doctors, we have been trained for some stereotypal behavior. And one lesson I got in my beginning of my medical studies, on the second year of my studies, we had a propedeutics of internal diseases. I think majority had such discipline. And the professor, I will not name his name, but who was teaching, on the first lecture told us, you got your boxes in the wardrobe to change from your dresses to the white gown. So you should remember, while leaving your dresses in the box, you should leave there also your heart. The idea was, you should have no emotions working to the patient. And it took me 15 years to understand how crazy this idea is. Because indeed, only by letting ourselves to feel our emotions, we will be able to understand what my patient feels here and now. And we all know now about mirror neurons. We know that we have resonance networks in our brain which are resonating to the other person's brain work. And this is completely unconscious, and this helps us generally to survive. Homo sapiens survived because it had very sensitive system to diagnose, does he need friend or enemy? And this all was in these mirror neuron systems. So the situation is that we are very often trained in our skills and stereotype behavior. Just the opposite. It is needed in our practice. But this is also not all the story I wanted you to tell. More problems are created because nobody of us is alone. And every patient has his family. Not necessarily family as a real entity. Friends, reference group, important persons in his life. Somebody whom he always asks for advice in difficult situations. And disease is difficult situation. And very often people want some additional support to make decisions. So therefore, this force, family, but also force, has to be considered by every practitioner. Because very often we have even patients who can't dare to make their own decisions about their own treatment and health. And for example, elder persons very often agree with us when we are talking about some procedures, but next morning he's already discharged. What happened? And nurse tells you, no, family went last night, they talked and decided he is old enough for all these procedures, so they took him back home. Just the reverse end of our age, children. All children are taking care of their parents or carers, and all decisions about their health must be negotiated with a person who is generally absolutely not involved in the situation. But he or she takes right and part of decision making. And we have to know how to address this person. We must learn what are these of your fears. What are the arguments against what we would like to recommend? And this is this part of our work. But we, my dear friends, also are not alone. We all have our team we are in. Nobody functions alone. Even if you are sitting in your office for days as a single general practitioner, it is never so that you will not talk to somebody, will not take part in some activities of your group of profession, and so on. So everybody has some backing. We need it. Why we need it? Because our job is terribly difficult. It is most stressful job in all professions. And that's clear. And that was also proved by the research made by American Medical Association. They evaluated what is the status of health of American doctors. And it appeared that they have higher incidence of suicides, higher incidence of drug dependence, higher incidence of alcohol dependence, higher incidence of psychosomatic disorders, the higher incidence of family problems than general population. So they generally, we, not they, we, my dear folks, are more sick than the population. Why? Because we are burning out working in our profession. And what is burnout? Simple description is very simple. Burnout starts in a moment, then for your practice you have no adequate knowledge or skills or both. And then you are starting to work with your personality. And when you're working with your personality, you ceased to work. You started to live in your profession. And I even know that for some of you, it's almost ideal. It must be like that. But then I want to ask one simple question. Whom you are living with. Because life is pleasure and sorrows. It's festivities, sex, disappointments, divorces. Whom you are living with at your work. Think of it. So when we are thinking about burning out, we must understand that it is not something miraculous. Nothing miraculous in that. We are not adequately prepared for our job. And my thesis is that the biggest hole is in communication skills training. Further on, when we are thinking about all this situation, it's already a little bit complicated. But it's not over. Because our work depends on the situation where it happens. And it can be in inpatient, outpatient, rehab clinic. It can be visited at home. It can involve very different methods of treatment or diagnostic procedures. And all they have different impact on our talk, on our understanding, on our contact, on our communication. So we have to consider that all the time. And for example, when I started my work as a psychotherapist, I started to work in cardiac surgery clinic at Vilnius University. It was in 1977. So 40 years ago. And then mortality rate in 3 first post-operative days was 30%. And patients, of course, were observing who is coming back and who is not. What is an outcome of the procedure, of the surgery. And it is not that our surgeons were very bad. Just the opposite. They were best, one of the best in then Soviet Union. But the problem was that our patients were going for surgery. Not in the moment when they were told they should go for the surgery. But in the moment they were no longer able to survive without surgery. And you as medical doctors understand very well. These are two different moments in the disease. At the same time in Sweden, one of our colleagues emigrated and was operating there. His mortality rate was 7%. The same technique, the same school. So I'm wondering about another thing. How this involves our contact. But even this is not all, because we all live somewhere, and we have a frame, and in this frame lives all the society, and therefore we have our social, economic, political situation, and this makes impact on everybody, on patient, on doctor, on family, on the team, on all of us. And that means that we always are trying to help, but sometimes conditions are, if don't allow us to help. And we feel helpless and hopeless, but that's the way it is. So therefore, I just want to use my last few minutes to tell that, in my opinion, a lot of hopes and expectations for the public from medical milieu are inadequate, because a lot of things are pre-conditioned and programmed by the society, by its parliaments, governments, by decisions which are making some or even big and terrible impact on the society's health. And to finish on the anecdotal note, I was introduced as being a surgeon who turned psychotherapist. I want to tell you, my dear friends, psychotherapy till now is non-existing profession in Lithuania. So I am illegal practitioner, because there is no legal document regulating psychotherapy as a profession in Lithuania. only now, maybe after 30 years of my attempts, but not only mine now, we have a project of the law which will come to the power about the practice of psychotherapy in Lithuania. So it is about really terrible impact on the health, because it's proven that psychotherapy diminishes the cost of health care in the simple polyclinics by 70% after 1 year of psychotherapy. 70% of simple, ordinary somatic patients. I'm not talking about different mental disorders or personality disorders. No, no, no. I'm talking about normal population of the patients in polyclinics. And this was blocked or not introduced. However, I don't know very well the difference between the two. So that's all I wanted you to tell. Thank you for your attention, and I hope we still have a minute or two for your questions and my possible answers. Thank you.